Welcome, Red Knight.
Hush, child, the darkness will rise from the deep end. Carry it out into sleep, child. The darkness will rise from the deep end. Carry it out into sleep. The sun, I'll shape your belief, and you'll always know that your father's a thief, and you won't understand the cause of your grief, but you'll always follow the voices beneath. Guileless son, your spirit will hate her, the flower who married my brother, the traitor, and you will expose his puppet behavior, for you are the proof of how we betrayed her loyalty. Hush, child, the darkness will rise from the deep end. Carry it out into sleep, child. The darkness will rise from the deep end. Carry it out into sleep. Guileless son, each day you grow older, each moment I'm watching my vengeance unfold. For the child of my body, the flesh of my soul will die in returning the birthright he
Good evening, guys. We have made it. Hello, hello, hello. It is great to see you, Marsh. You are on a roll these last few days, keeping that good chat active. Welcome.
Welcome, Red Knight.
And welcome back.
Welcome back.
Let us give a warm welcome indeed to Mana Polsky. Mana Polsky, thank you for joining us in the Dragon's Roost, here for our 2,000 hour plus events and the rest. You have made it. Mana Polsky, amazingly enough, Marsh, the creator of our very own Targaryen Dragon Mask, as seen here on live stream. You recognize that, Mana Polsky? Mana Polsky. There it is. You recognize your own handwork there? It's here, in the Dragon's Roost and the Targaryen stream in the lovely time. We are just beginning here, guys. Thank you for starting up our chat. Yes, yep, yes indeed. Very, very lovely. It's lovely to have you there, Mana Polsky. It's lovely to have you, Marsh. You are an absolute roll recently. Welcome back, guys. It is time for some Timeline, Chapter 8, and some other very exciting things here tonight. hilarious enough, made that Wolfenstein video for the little announcement last night, and funny enough, it saved directly into Wolfenstein as the game file. So you'll hear right here. Eventually, you would hear it recording. So that was very funny. Anyway, it didn't work, but we're fine. It is fantastic to see you guys here. We got some fun stuff, some basic stuff, some lovely time overall, and we are looking absolutely fine. Thank you for being here, guys. It is fantastic to have you all. 20 degrees Celsius, oh boy. Yep, it is heating up there for sure. Oh. And it is fantastic to see you all to just begin here. Today, all looking good. Very fun, exciting time. That will be absolutely great. You all made it. It's perfect. We got your follow alert. Just making sure. Yeah, a few analytics things. We made the fun video here last night. Let's show that. We have some fun highlights, fun things in general. Nothing to worry about there, but that great. Just baking, just having fun. Okay. Anyway, let me please catch up here really quick. Welcome, great to see you guys. Yes, hello to Monica, you made it, Monopoisky, Marshmallow, Monopoisky, Crank they see it's so hot in SoCal. Welcome in there. Once the sun sets, it will cool down quick. Yeah, absolutely. What's the temp there? Yeah, about a 94 Fahrenheit. My particular region. Loving the echo. Thank you, that'll be for our voice mod available anytime there, Monopoisky. Great for you to join us there. And Anthony, you should be working in radio. You have a radio host for. Thank you, Monopoisky. Yeah, I'll just call you Monica too if that works. But Moni Polsky. I'll try to alternate your names. Thank you very much, I appreciate the compliment there. A fun time in general, all good. And, yeah, nearly 100 there as well, 38 centigrade, funny you know that. My computer gets 150 degrees Fahrenheit, the graphics card and such. Yeah, lovely time there last night with the Wolfenstein guys, a lot of fun there. Marsh joining there, Ferguson and Alucard, Dragon Champions. Southern California, jealous that it's 20 Celsius there, yeah. 68 Fahrenheit, yeah, much more cool, ridiculous amounts of time. Put on a black shirt here, maybe not the best idea to begin our timeline, but we shall see. Prefer Cali weather, yeah, understandable. Love the mouse pal, yep, so we do that all the time here. We have that in multiple scenes. I have added it, including, yes, the live scene here as well. Yeah, we got that edited and pasteurized and cropped to be fitting perfectly, so. Anyway, Marsh will take care of that behind-the-scenes stuff, looking great for all of that. Well, for our video editing and exporting to VOD and such, that's going to be absolutely fine. And we'll look forward to a great time here for the rest of the good stream. Timeline Chapter 8. Monica, befitting of your personality, perhaps, you actually did get the Dino Girl. Pink little dino here, Dragon Avatar, Dino Avatar, for your stream avatar, so. That was very appropriate, perhaps. Monopolsky, another friend, Marsh, just signed up for Twitch to join us here directly in chat. So, very appreciative. It is lovely to have you there. We have some good plans tonight. We'll get some timeline to begin, a good reading. And then we'll see maybe some Diablo hardcore characters back on the roster. And we'll see what other types of adventures, maybe even some Mordhau, other stuff before we get back to Hunt tomorrow. And yeah, we'll take care of the VODs, everything behind the scenes, Marsh, that needs to be done. So, no worries for that. Just in case you are wondering, and we're gonna have a lovely time. So yes, great to see you, Marsh. Thank you for appreciating the
Voice mod as well. We have some fun ones. Monopoisky, a very few.
varieties, and you radio there, we do have the Radio Demon, for example. Also a fun time. Better with headphones for sure, so we'll save some of those for a bit later. They're available anytime and about me. The one question I do have for you technically tonight, Marsh, is how could we add voice mod to the video player directly, such as your crowd control on the video player? Do you think the voice mod widget does have accessibility to be added to the video player to be not only an About Me, but also on the video player? Wondering about that later. We shall see. But anyway, we're looking pretty good More exciting time. It's just funny that Wolfenstein video did not work out. Yeah, let's show it one more time here. Ah, it doesn't want to play. That's so weird. Let me see if I can open it. Ah, is it working now? Alright, so this was last night with a console. And you hear me. Wow, that is weird. That is very weird. Strange stuff there. Ugh. Love that mouse pops up. Yep, fun stuff. There's some fun ones there.
Hello guys, we're on a timeline chapter 8 today.
There it
Some
is.
Diablo 3 hardcore characters and a great time in the Roost in general, celebrating some good things, new alerts, and voice mod. I'll see you there. Twitch TV, Ace the Slide.
That's what we tried to do, but because it was directly in the game with the console, it captured it only there. Alright, so at least we showed it if we didn't do anything with that. Just had a little private story there for Timeline today, and then we made a nice video edit. Spent about an hour on that last night, so. Well, hey, we got Monica here as the main thing there. Joining us here, Monopolsky. Go ahead and delete that now. And we'll be good. I have no idea. Let me see. Open file, location, delete. Got it. Alright, that was the only Wolfenstein capture that we need for that. Good stuff there, Monopolsky. You just gotta make me really excited for good stuff. You might need to have the voice mod set as an overlay rather than a panel. I don't think you can do both. Overlay. So like a stream overlay. Alright, well it looks pretty good about me for now. We'll maybe revisit that in the future. But you being one that tested out Marsh, we know that it works, so that is fine. So thank you for that. Everything else looking good for Discord and the rest. Show that little video to you guys. It was a fun time. We'll show it once more later with headphones for Adventures Tonight. But yes, timeline at Chapter 8. Here tonight, friends, Monopolsky and Marsh getting started here for the evening. Just beginning. I just worried about a couple technical things, but we will configure it later. We'll all be great. Your lovely dragon avatar looking good there. Dino, Monopolsky, and Marsh with his red crown. Okay, timeline chapter 8, we left off somewhere here. We will find exactly where we left off and pick it up. So we had the joust beginning, it went back to modern times from there. So they were talking with Derringer, such, of all that. So let's read the last little bit before modern times here for some of that. So we got what disaster... Armor, Silver, Warlord. Yeah, we go through all that stuff with Oliver and the Knights there on the banquet table and the very naughty Lord and the Black Knight. He's about to joust. So a fun time of that. Yeah, very glad you could join us, Monopolsky. See the mask in time live there. And a great opportunity for you to join us and connect with some great people here. Twitch, one of the greatest places to be. Get all these technical things, edits, all set for later. But it'll be absolutely fine. Let us enjoy for now a good time of it. Looking very much fine. Going to be absolutely glorious. Glorious, glorious, glorious. Alright. Let's see for now then. What can we do as we welcome and enjoy? Great appreciation of you, such friends with the chat. Bring it to life with those lovely dragon avatars. Looking absolutely fantastic. Find exactly where we left off. We're talking about them, Merrick and the rest. Challenging him to the duel in the gauntlet for the first of the tournament. Here on the joust as we begin with today. Fun Diablo tonight. Back to Hunt Such tomorrow, Marsh. Won't be doing another fourth watering stream in a row. I think that's probably enough of that for now. For variety's sake and good content, so I'll just focus on my watering, get it done pretty quick. And come on back for more main show. Hunt in the mornings, big show Tuesday. A lot of exciting stuff. Great to have you, friends. Monopolsky and Marsh starting off the chat very eagerly right as we get started. 'Tis good, squire, it is, he said. Now that I'm saying they got him dressed, everything, got on the giant horse. Okay, now we're back to Robert Doniger. Let's read the very last few lines here. Chris looked down at the ground, far below. He felt as if he were 10 feet in the air. As soon as he was mounted, the horse began to whinny and shake its head, turning sideways and snapping at Hugh's legs in the stirrups. He thought, this damn horse is trying to bite me. Rein, squire, reins! You must rein him! Chris tugged at the reins. The enormous horse paid no attention, pulling hard, still trying to bite him. "Show him, squire! Strongly!" Chris yanked the reins so sharply he thought he'd break the animal's neck. At this, the horse merely gave a final snort and faced forward, suddenly calmed. "Well done, squire." Trumpets sounded several long notes. "That is the first call to arms," the page said. "We must to the tourney field." They took the horse's reins and led Chris toward the grassy field. Alright, we're here at 3602, 100. And this is indeed the next part there in the beginning, I believe around chapter 8. So if you guys are ready, let us begin for a good time of timeline. Focus on other things, and let us address one more time any technical things need to be done for this particular VOD and such. We will be editing out for a good consistency and comparison. It is on to a great adventure, though, in the Roost. Very much thanks to Monopolsky joining us in the Roost here after our 2,000-hour mark. Also, visiting with that lovely mask. Get your lovely pink dino there, stay a while, and enjoy our fun adventures here today. We have lots of good stuff to come. Get those headphones in later for Diablo 3 adventures. Marshmallow, an absolute roll of supporting.
Stay a while and
And joining us for a fun time, so thank you for being there. We'll play that alert again with that command. It's a lovely time, exclamation champion, to see the benefits of being a subscriber in the Roost. It's lovely to see you too. Loyal Dragon Knights and lovely friends so far here, though. We will just begin and read some of that and see what other glorious adventures. I'm glad you could make it for some good times overall. We got a good video edit for Instagram, Discord, to Facebook here and there. It's a lovely time on Twitch. We have all our VODs and such on YouTube, getting that timeline playlist together. We'll continue it there and there, through and forth, back into it all. So, looking forward to an absolutely lovely time. I'm glad you made it. And we are just beginning. Forward to some good times. These windows, get those headphones in a bit later. We'll wait a good hour or such here for that. Still 10 degrees hotter outside, so I need to open them quite yet. I did take a walk, is a bit sweltering. So we shall see. Well, with that, let us begin with Chapter 8 of Timeline. You made it, Marsh. You made it, Monopolsky. And we look forward to welcoming all more Dragon Knights and great friends and champions throughout the evening. Let us begin there with Timeline. Chapter 8, have a good time of it. Just getting started for the evening.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
And here we go. It was 1 in the morning. From inside his office at ITC, Robert Doniger stared down at the entrance to the cave, illuminated in the night by the flashing lights of 6 ambulances parked all around. He listened to the crackle of the paramedic radios and watched the people leaving the tunnel. He saw Gordon walking out with that new kid, Stern. Neither of them appeared to have been hurt. He saw Kramer reflected in the glass of the window as she entered the room behind him. She was slightly out of breath. Without looking back at her, he said, "How many were injured?" 6, 2 somewhat seriously. How seriously? Shrapnel wounds, burns from toxic inhalation. Then they'll have to go to UH. He meant University Hospital in Albuquerque. Yes, Kramer said, but I briefed them about what they can say. Lab accident, all that. And I called Whittle at UH, reminded him of our last donation. I don't think there'll be a problem. Doniger stared out the window. There might be, he said. The PR people can handle it. Maybe not, Doniger said. In recent years, ITC had built a publicity unit of 26 people around the world. Their job was not to get publicity for the company, but rather to deflect it. ITC, they explained to anyone who inquired, was a company that made superconducting quantum devices for magnometers and medical scanners. These devices consisted of a complex electromechanical element about 6 inches long. Press handouts were stupefyingly boring, dense with quantum specifications. For the rare reporter who remained interested, ITC enthusiastically scheduled a tour of their New Mexico facility. Reporters were taken to reflected research labs. Then, in a large assembly room, they were shown how the devices were made. The gradiometer coils fitted into the cryostat. The superconducting shield and electric leads outside. Explanations referred to the Maxwell equations and electron charge motion. Almost invariably, reporters abandoned their stories. In the words of one, it's about as compelling as an assembly line for hair dryers. In this way, Doniger had managed to keep silent about the most extraordinary scientific discovery of the late 20th century. In part, his silence was self-preservation. Other companies like IBM and Fujitsu had started their own quantum research, and even though Doniger had a 4-year head start on them, it was in his interest that they not know exactly how far he had gone. He also was aware that his plan was not yet completed, and he needed secrecy to finish, as he himself often said, grinning like a kid. If people knew what we were up to, they'd really want to stop us. So yeah, guys, welcome to relax, enjoy, listen to the fun story of the Chow Theory time, and we'll look forward to great adventures throughout the evening, our highlights and the rest. So, going to be great. Glad you could make it. On to a very fun time. But at the same time, Doniger knew that he could not maintain the secrecy forever. Sooner or later, perhaps by accident, it was all going to come out. And when that happened, it was up to him to manage it. The question in Doniger's mind was whether it was happening now. He watched as the ambulances pulled out, sirens whining. "Think about it," he said to Kramer. 2 weeks ago, this company was buttoned down tight. Our only problem was that French reporter. Then we had Traub. That depressed old bastard put our whole company in jeopardy. Traub's death brought that cop from Gallup, who's still nosing around. Then Johnston. Then his 4 students. And now 6 techs going to the hospital. It's going to be a lot of people out there, Diane. A lot of exposure. "You think it's getting away from us," she said. "Possibly," he said, "but not if I can help it. Especially since I've got 3 potential board members coming day after tomorrow, so let's button it back down." She nodded. "I really think we can handle this." "Okay," he said, turning away from the window. "See that Stern goes to bed in one of the spare rooms. Make sure he gets sleep, and put a block on the phone. Tomorrow, I want Gordon sticking to him like glue. Give him a tour of the place, whatever. But stay with him. I want a conference call with the PR people tomorrow at 8. I want a briefing about the transit pad at 9, and I want those media dipshits at noon. Call everybody now, so they can get ready." "Right," she said. "I may not be able to keep this under control," Doniger said, "but I'm sure as hell going to try." He frowned at the glass, watching the people clustered outside the tunnel in the dark. "How long until they can go back in the cave?" 9 hours. "And then we can mount a rescue operation? Send another team back?" Kramer coughed. "Well, are you sick, or does that mean no?" "All the machines were destroyed in the explosion, Bob," she said. "All of them?" "I think so, yes." "Then all we can do is rebuild the pad and sit on our asses to see if they come back in one piece. You should also be in voice acting for animation films, legit. That'd be fun. We could do some games or such. I did have one on Vimeo. I gotta get that command up for Vimeo soon. I keep meaning to link that. Oh, hey, since you mentioned it, Monica, let me go ahead and link that real quick. Since we did do one little fan-made dub one. Yeah, I should at least have that somewhere for people who like Star Wars and people who like that kind of thing. Can't believe I haven't done that this whole time. I mean, something I've always thought about, so it'll just take a really quick minute to get that up from Vimeo. It was a fun little dub project. Let me find it. Yeah, it's something I've been meaning to do for months now, so thank you, Monica, for the extra encouragement. Put us over the top. Alright, how the heck do you search on Vimeo? This is weird. You have to go to the Watch tab? Okay. It was Clone Wars Abridged we did. Also like Devil Makes Work, that was a fun one. We should do an alert for Devils Make Work. But for now we have the 2 Clone Wars. And we'll do a new command for that. Vimeo. Fan of Star Wars. I was Captain Rex in a fan-made dub of Clone Wars. Part 1 and Part 2. There we go. So at least that'll give you a little idea there for the voiceover and fun. Did you watch the new series? Yeah, Konobi. Yep, finished that completely already. Alright. It's a fun little project we did here, though. Okay. Submit. And done. Alright, don't worry. We will not spoil anything for you there, but if you like the prequels, you'll definitely watch that for sure. How much does sub cost? $5, Monica. You'll get all your champion benefits, and emotes, and commands. If you mean... Oh, you're talking on Disney Plus or Twitch? If you're asking just general subscription, yeah, just $5. If you have Amazon Prime, it's also free. You get a free one every month for Amazon Prime, but the main gift you're giving me, Monoposki, is being here, your time, and appreciation, attention. So yeah, you're really not required to sub or do any of that direct support. You are supporting enough for being here. Disney for Star Wars, that's like 10, 15, something like that. Sorry, I wasn't sure. I just immediately when you think you see sub, I think you mean Twitch sub. That's funny. Anyway, you get the point. Yeah, Disney Plus is about 10 or 15, I think. It's like HBO, kind of the same. Marvel and Star Wars and Captain Marvel and what else was I watching? Yeah, which Multiverse of Madness again last night. It is, yeah. I mean, US dollars, it's still a lot. Definitely. Good fun there. We'll get to good video editing later, Marsh. Everything will work out. We'll get a new cheer. We just thought of it from Vimeo there. Double makes work. That'd be a fun cheer. I could do several cheers for the same things, which are fun, like 5 in a row, you know, and it's all the same type of cheer, just different variations, different parts of the movie or video or music. Inflation indeed, Monoposki. No worry. Love your expressive fun, Moth. You're one of the most creative, amazing friends I've had, so we do appreciate your lovely style. All good, yeah. Lots of inflation and the gas and all the rest. It's crazy times, you betcha. Alright, we're at the very last part of this section here. Let me see. Sit on our asses if they come back in one piece. Yes, that's right. We have no way to rescue them. Then let's hope they know their stuff, Donager said. Because they're on their own. Good fucking luck to them. Yeah. Okay. 31, 40, 44. Through the narrow slits of his helmet visor, Chris Hughes could see the tournament stands were filled, almost entirely with ladies, and the railings crowded with commoners 10 deep. Everyone was shouting for the tournament to begin. Chris was now at the east end of the field, surrounded by his pages, trying to control the horse, which seemed upset by the shouting crowd and had begun to buck and rear. The pages tried to hand him a striped lance, which was absurdly long and ungainly in his hand. Chris took it, then fumbled it as the horse snorted and stomped beneath him. Beyond the barrier, he saw Kate standing among the commoners. She was smiling encouragement at him. But the horse kept twisting and turning, so he could not return her gaze. And not far off, he saw the armored figure of Merrick, surrounded by pages. As Chris's horse turned again, why didn't the pages grab the reins? He saw the far end of the field, where Sir Guy de Meligant sat calmly on his mount. He was pulling on his black-plumed helmet. Chris's horse bucked once more and turned him in circles. He heard more trumpets, and the spectators all looked toward the stands. He was dimly aware that Lord Oliver was taking his seat to scattered applause. Here we have one of the medieval goblets as well. Monica, I'd love to give you a dragon knighting sometime. That's one of our channel rewards here for a real Excalibur sword on my wall. Here's the medieval goblet I share with Marsh, actually, from the castle, so... Lovely, lovely stuff there. Mrs. Monopolsky, it is so exciting and great to have you here tonight. Yeah, it's the one I got most recently, about 6 months ago, my most recent birthday. You have the one in Toronto, actually, so closer to you. Got the one here in Winter Park, Orange County. Lovely stuff. Go back soon. Hopefully next month or August I'll go. We shall see. Yes, ma'am. Fun for your Dragon Knights. Another lovely glory of that. And with our masks, now you get to see the symbol. Finally, you get to see the full Targaryen breadth here, Monica. How exciting is that? Very wonderful. Alright, completely lost. Start my pages. As Chris's horse turned again, why didn't the pages grab the reins? He saw the far end of the field where Sir Guy de Maligant sat calmly on his mount. He was pulling on his black-plumed helmet. Yeah, there we go. Chris's horse bucked once more and turned him in circles. Yeah, if you have more time and such here at night, dear Monopolsky, you could start watching some Game of Thrones, catch up for House of the Dragon in 2 months. Will be out. The prequel, great show. We'll be talking about that on our Discord and Steam groups and the rest. For a lot of good discussion, episode by episode. So if you ever want something great to watch, do recommend you do give Game of Thrones a fair shake. It does get better over time, and you can skip some of the scenes you don't like or such. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's what we're recommending. We'll recommend if you have more time, you know, just to give it a go. You know, I'd say season 4 is when I really started to enjoy it because I've seen the first 3 so many times. But yeah, we have completely Targaryen themed stream here. You'll see all the Dragon Queen, and yeah, it's just really inspiring characters overall, but lots of strong, amazing women in the show too. I'm sure you can identify and resonate with, you being our Targaryen princess and queen here, right live on the roost. So do appreciate the lovely time, and Marsh does appreciate that kind of stuff as well, don't you, Marsh? Oh yeah. He turned more trumpets, and the spectators all looked toward the stands. He was dimly aware that Lord Oliver was taking his seat, to scattered applause. Then the trumpets blared again. "Squire, it is your signal," a page said, handing him the lance once more. This time he managed to hold it long enough to rest it in a notch on his pommel, so that it crossed the horse's back and pointed ahead to his left. Then the horse spun, and the pages yelled and scattered as the lance swung in an arc over their heads. More trumpets. What do you guys think is going to happen? Is Chris going to make it out, or is he going to run into big trouble from the Black Knight? Merrick's plan originally, if you remember, he was telling Chris, advising him to play dead and pretend he's unconscious, even if he doesn't get knocked out as soon as the Black Knight does a pass on him on the joust. So we'll see if that goes to plan or not. Probably not. We'll see, huh? Hardly able to see, Chris tugged at his reins, trying to get the horse under control. He glimpsed Sir Guy at the far end of the field, just watching, his horse perfectly still. Chris wanted to get it over with, but this horse was wild, angry and frustrated. He yanked hard at the reins one final time. "God damn it, go, will you?" At this, the horse snapped his head up and down in 2 swift motions. The ears went flat, and he charged. Merrick watched the charge tensely. He had not told Chris everything. There was no point in frightening him any more than necessary. But certainly Sir Guy would try to kill Chris, which meant he would aim his lance for the head. Chris was bouncing wildly in the saddle, his lance jerking up and down, his body swaying from side to side. He made a poor target, but if Guy was skilled, and Merrick had no doubt that he was, then he would still aim for the head, risking a miss on the first pass in order to make the fatal hit. He watched Chris jolt down the field, precariously hanging in the saddle. And he watched Sir Guy charging toward him in perfect control, body leaning forward, lance couched in the crook of the arm. Merrick thought there was at least a chance that Chris would survive. Chris could not see much of anything. Lurching wildly in the saddle, he had only blurred views of the stands. The ground, the other rider coming toward him. From his brief glimpses, he could not estimate how far away Guy was, or how long until the impact. He heard the thundering hoofbeats of his horse, the rhythmic snorting breath. He bounced in the saddle and tried to hold on to his lance. Everything was taking much longer than he expected. He felt as if he had been riding this horse for an hour. Yeah, Monica, one of the greatest series produced for sure, and in one of the very first episodes, Season 1, there is a joust scene, so this is very appropriate to that too. for Game of Thrones and all medieval fantasy in general. And of course, our great jousters and knights for all places. Definitely. At the last moment, he saw a guy, very close, rushing up to him at frightful speed, and then his own lance recoiled in his hand, slamming painfully into his right side, and simultaneously he felt a sharp pain in his left shoulder, and an impact that twisted him sideways in the saddle, and he heard the crack of splintering wood. The crowd roared. His horse raced onward, to the far end of the field. Chris was dazed. What had happened? His shoulder burned fiercely. His lance had been snapped in two, and he was still sitting in the saddle. Shit. Merrick watched unhappily. It was bad luck. The impact had been too glancing to unseat Chris. Now they would have to charge another time. He glanced over at Sir Guy, who was cursing as he pulled a fresh lance from the hands of the pages, wheeling his horse, preparing to charge again. At the far end of the field, Chris was again trying to get control of his new lance, which swung wildly in the air like a metronome. At last he brought it down across the saddle, but the horse was still twisting and bucking. Guy was humiliated and angry. He was impatient and did not wait. Kicking his spurs, he charged down the field. You bastard, Merrick thought. The crowd roared in surprise at the one-sided attack. Chris heard it and saw that Guy was already galloping toward him at full speed. His own horse was still twisting and unruly. He jerked on the reins and at the moment heard a thwack as one of the grooms whipped his horse on the hind quarters. The horse whinnied. The ears flattened. He charged down the field. The second charge was worse, because this time he knew what was coming. The impact slammed him, streaking pain across his chest. As he was lifted bodily up into the air, everything became slow. He saw the saddle moving away from him. Then the horse's rear flanks revealed as he slid away, and then he was tilted back, staring up at the sky. He smashed onto the ground, flat on his back. His head clanged against the helmet. He saw bright blue spots, which spread and grew larger, then became gray. He heard Merrick in his ear. Now stay there! Somewhere he heard distant trumpets, as the world faded gently, easily, into blackness. At the far end of the course, Guy was wheeling his horse to prepare for another charge, but already the trumpets had sounded for the next pair. Merrick lowered his lance, kicked his horse, and galloped forward. He saw his opposite, Sir Charles de Gaunt, racing toward him. He heard the steady rumble of the horse, the building roar of the crowd. They knew this would be good, as he raced forward. This horse was running incredibly fast. Sir Charles charged forward equally fast. According to the medieval texts, the great challenge of the joust was not to carry the lance or to aim it at the target or that. At this target or that. The challenge was to hold the line of the charge and not to veer away from the impact, not to give in to the panic that swept over nearly every rider as he galloped toward his opponent. Merrick had read the old texts, but now he suddenly understood them. He felt shivery and loose, weak in his limbs, his thighs trembling as he squeezed his mount. He forced himself to concentrate, to focus, to line up his lance with Sir Charles, but the tip of his lance whipped up and down as he charged. He raised it from the pommel, couched it in the crook of his arm, steadier. His breathing was better. He felt his strength return. He lined up, 80 yards now, charging hard. He saw Sir Charles adjust his lance. Angling it upward, he was going for the head. Or was it a feint? Jousting riders were known to change their aim at the last moment. Would he? 60 yards. The head strike was risky if both riders were not aiming for it. A straight lance to the torso would impact a fraction of a second sooner than a lance to the head. It was a matter of the angles. The first impact would move both riders, making the head strike less certain. But a skilled knight might extend his lance farther forward, taking it out of couch position to get 6 or 8 extra inches of length, and thus the first impact. You had to have an enormous arm strength to absorb the instant of impact and control the lance as it's socked back. So the horse would hear the brunt, but you were more likely to throw off would bear the brunt, but you were more likely to throw off the opponent's aim and timing. 50 yards. Sir Charles still held his lance high, but now he couched it, leaning forward in the saddle. He had more control of the lance now. Would he feint again? 40 yards. There was no way to know. Merrick decided to go for the chest strike. He put his lance in position. He would not move it again. 30 yards. He heard the thunder of hooves, the roar of the crowd. The medieval text warned, do not close your eyes at the moment of impact. Keep your eyes open to make the hit. 20 yards. His eyes were open. 10. The bastard raised his lance. He was going for the head. Impact. The crack of wood sounded like a gunshot. Merrick felt a pain in his left shoulder, stabbing upward and hard. He rode on to the end of the course, dropped his shattered lance, extended his hand out for another. But the pages were just staring at the field behind him. Looking back, he saw that Sir Charles was down, lying on the ground, not moving. All right, have a fun call there, and thanks for enjoying Monoposki. We'll still be here several hours, whenever you're ready to come back. Have fun, and lovely to see you. Enjoy Monoposki. Great adventures to come, and glad you're still with us as well, Marsh. Lovely to see you, friends. Looking pretty good. Up in here, looking great. Well, thank you very much. We'll figure out all the good technical dynamics and good things there. Marshmallow Font will be great. Yes, sir. And then he saw Sir Guy prancing and wheeling around Chris's fallen body. That would be his solution, Merrick thought. He'd trample Chris to death. Yeah, I was wondering this whole time, where is Chris laying, actually? If he was knocked off the horse in the jousting lane, he's not exactly far away, right? So yeah, I've been wondering. Now we know. Oh boy. Merrick turned and drew his sword. He held it high. And they already did trample a guy earlier. Yeah, Sir Guy and the others, they trampled the woman, actually. The the operatives, the agents, the soldiers, the escorts. Barretto and her name was Gomez or something like that. Yeah, they trampled her after they cut her head off, so that was pretty messed up. With a howl of rage, Merrick spurred his horse down the field. The crowd screamed and pounded the rails like a drumbeat. Sir Guy turned and he saw Merrick coming. He looked back down at Chris and kicked his horse, making it move sideways to stomp him. "Fie! Fie!" the crowd shouted, and even Lord Oliver was on his feet, aghast. But then Merrick had reached Sir Guy, unable to stop his charge, but sweeping past him, shouting, "Asshole!" as he struck Guy's head with the flat of his sword. He knew it wouldn't hurt him, but it was an insulting blow, and it would make him abandon Chris, which it did. The flat of his sword. Sir Guy immediately turned away from Chris as Merrick reined up, holding his sword. Sir Guy pulled his sword from his sheath and swung viciously, the blade whistling in the air. It clanged off Merrick's blade. Merrick felt his own sword vibrate in his hand with the impact. Merrick lashed out in a backswing, going for the head. Guy parried. The horses wheeled. The swords clanged again and again. The battle had begun, and in some detached part of his mind, Merrick knew that this would be a fight to the death. Kate watched the battle from the railing. Merrick was holding his own, and his physical strength was superior, but it was easy to see that he did not have the expertise of Sir Guy. His swings were wilder, his body position less sure. He seemed to know it, and so did Sir Guy, who kept backing his horse away, trying to open space for full swings. For his part, Merrick pressed closer, keeping the distance between them light, like a fighter staying in the clinch. But Merrick could not do it forever, she saw. Sooner or later, Guy would get enough distance, if only for a moment, and make a lethal blow. Merrick's hair was soaked with sweat inside the helmet. Stinging drops dripped into his eyes. He could do nothing about it. He shook his head, trying to clear his vision. It didn't help much. Soon he was gasping for breath, through the slit of the helmet. Sir Guy appeared tireless and implacable, always on the attack, swinging repeatedly in a sure, practiced rhythm. Merrick knew that he had to do something soon, before he became too tired. He had to break the knight's rhythm. His right hand, holding the sword, already burned from constant exertion. His left hand was strong. Why not use his left hand? It was worth a try. Spurring his horse, Merrick moved closer until they were chest to chest. He waited until he blocked one swing with his own sword, and then, with the heel of his left hand, he punched upward at Sir Guy's helmet. The helmet snapped back. He felt the satisfying thunk as Guy's head struck the front of the helmet. Immediately, Merrick flipped his sword over and slammed the butt of the handle against Guy's helmet. There was a loud clang, and Guy's body jerked in the saddle. His shoulders slumped momentarily. Merrick struck again, banged the helmet harder. He knew he was hurting him, but not enough. Too late, he saw Guy's sword hiss in a broad arc toward his back. Merrick felt the brutal string like a whip across his shoulders. Did the chainmail hold? Was he hurt? He could still move his arms. He swung his own blade hard against the back of Guy's helmet. Guy did nothing to ward off the blow, which rang like a gong. He must be dazed, Merrick thought. Merrick swung again, then wheeled his horse coming around, and he swung broadly for the neck. Guy blocked it, but the force of the impact knocked him backward. Reeling, he slid sideways in the saddle, grabbed for the pommel, but could not prevent his fall to the ground. Merrick turned, started to dismount. The crowd roared again. Looking back, he saw that Guy had leapt easily to his feet, his injuries a sham. He swung his blade at Merrick while he was still dismounting. Merrick, with one foot still raised in the stirrup, parried awkwardly, somehow got clear of his horse, and then swung back. Sir Guy was strong, sure of himself. Merrick realized his situation was now worse than before. He attacked fiercely, but Guy backed up easily, his footwork practiced and quick. Merrick was gasping and wheezing inside his helmet. He was sure Guy could hear it, and would know what it meant. Merrick was wearing down. All Sir Guy had to do was keep backing away until Merrick exhausted himself. Unless... Off to the left, Chris obediently still lay flat on his back. Merrick swung at Guy, moving to the right, with every stroke. Guy continued to move lightly away, but now Merrick was driving him back toward Chris. Chris awoke slowly to the clang of swords. Groggy, he took stock. He was lying on his back, staring at blue sky, but he was alive. What had happened? He turned his head inside his black helmet, with just a narrow slit for vision. It was hot and stuffy and claustrophobic. He began to feel sick. The sensation of nausea built quickly. He didn't want to throw up inside the helmet. It was too tight around his head. He would drown in his own puke. He had to get his helmet off. Still lying there, he reached up and grabbed the helmet with both hands. He tugged at it. It didn't budge. Why? Had they tied it on him? Was it because he was lying down? He was going to throw up in the damn helmet. Jesus. Frantic, he rolled on the ground. Merrick swung his broadsword desperately. Behind Sir Guy, he saw Chris begin to move. Merrick would have shouted to him to stay where he was, but he had no breath to speak. Merrick swung again, and again. Now Chris was pulling at his helmet, trying to get it off. Guy was still 10 yards from Chris, dancing backward, enjoying himself, parrying Merrick's blows easily. Merrick knew he was almost at the limits of his strength now. His swings were increasingly weak. Guy was still strong, still smooth, just backing and parrying, waiting for his chance. 5 yards. Chris had rolled over on his stomach, and he was now getting up. He was on all fours, hanging his head. There was a loud retching sound. Guy heard it too, turned his head a little to look. Merrick charged, butted him in the breastplate with his head, and Guy staggered backward, fell over Chris, and went down. Got a really funny advertisement picture here. That's what I'm laughing about. It's kind of silly. That's okay. Malagant rolled quickly on the ground, but Merrick was on him, stamping on Guy's right hand to pin the sword down, then swinging his other leg over to pin the opposite shoulder. Merrick held his sword high, ready to plunge it down. The crowd fell silent. Guy did not move. Slowly, Merrick lowered his sword, cut the laces to Guy's helmet, and pushed it back with the tip of his blade. Guy's head was now exposed. Merrick saw he was bleeding freely from his left ear. Guy glared at him and spat. Merrick raised his sword again. He was filled with rage, stinging sweat, burning arms, vision red with fury and exhaustion. He tightened his hands, prepared to swing down and cut the head from the body. Guy saw it. "Mercy!" he shouted so everyone would hear. "I beg mercy!" he cried. "In the name of the Holy Trinity and the Virgin Mary, mercy! Mercy!" The crowd was silent, waiting. Merrick was not sure what to do. In the back of his mind, a voice said, "Kill this bastard or you will regret it later." He knew that he must decide quickly. The longer he stood here, straddling Sir Guy, the more certain he would lose his nerve. He looked at the crowd lining the railing. No one moved. They just stared. He looked at the stands where Lord Oliver sat with the ladies. Everyone was motionless. Lord Oliver seemed frozen. Merrick looked back at the cluster of pages standing by the railing. They, too, were frozen. Then in a move that was almost subliminal, one page raised a hand to mid-chest and made a flicking wrist motion. Cut it off. He's giving you good advice, Merrick thought. But Merrick hesitated. There was absolute silence in the field, except for the retches and groans of Chris. In the end, it was those retches that broke the moment. Merrick stepped away from Sir Guy and extended a hand to help him up. Sir Guy took his hand, got to his feet in front of Merrick. He said, "You bastard. I'll see you in hell," and turned on his heel and walked away. 31:15:58. The little stream wound through mossy grass and wildflowers. Chris was on his knees, plunging his face into the water. He came back up, sputtering, coughing. He looked at Merrick, who was squatting beside him, staring off into space. "I've had it," Chris said. "I've had it." "I imagine you have." "I could have been killed," Chris said. "That's supposed to be a sport? You know what that is? It's a game of chicken on horses. Those people are insane." He dunked his head in the water again. "Chris, I hate to throw up. I hate it." "Chris, what? What is it now? You gonna tell me I'll rust my armor? Because I don't give a shit, Andre." "No," Merrick said. "I'm going to tell you your felt undershirt will swell, and it'll be difficult to take the armor off." "Is that right? Well, I don't care. Those pages will come and get it off me." Chris sat back in the moss and coughed. "Jesus, I can't get rid of that smell. I need to take a bath or something." Merrick sat beside him, said nothing. He just let him unwind. Chris's hands were shaking as he talked. It was better for him to get it out, he thought. In the field below them, archers in maroon and gray were practicing. Ignoring the excitement of the nearby tournament, they patiently fired at targets, moved backward, fired again. It was just as the old text said. The English archers were highly disciplined, and they practiced every day. "Those men are the new military power," Merrick said. "They decide battles now. Look at them." Chris propped himself on his elbow. "You're kidding," he said. The archers were now more than 200 yards from their circular targets, the length of 2 football fields. So far away, they were small figures, and yet they were confidently drawing their bows toward the sky. Are they serious? The sky was black with whistling arrows. They struck the targets, or landed close by, sticking up in the grass. No kidding, Chris said. Almost immediately another thick volley filled the air, and another, and another. Merrick was counting to himself, 3 seconds between volleys. So it was true, he thought. English archers really could fire 20 rounds a minute. By now, the targets bristled with arrows. Charging knights can't stand up under that kind of attack, Merrick said. It kills the riders and it kills the horses. That's why the English knights dismount to fight. The French still charge in the traditional way, and they're just slaughtered, before they ever get close to the English. 4,000 knights dead at Crécy, even more in Poitiers. Large numbers for this time. Why don't the French change tactics? Can't they see what's happening? They do, but it means the end of a whole way of life, a whole culture, really. Merrick said, Knights are all nobility. Their way of life is too expensive for commoners. A knight has to buy his armor and at least 3 war horses, and he has to support his retinue of pages and aides, and these noble knights have been the determining factor in warfare until now. Now it's over. He pointed to the archers in the field. Those men are commoners. They win by coordination and discipline. There's no personal valor. They're paid a wage. They do a job. But they're the future of warfare. Paid, disciplined, faceless troops. The knights are finished. Except for tournaments, Chris said sourly. Pretty much. And even there, all that plate armor over the chainmail, that's all because of arrows. Arrows will go clean through an unprotected man, and they'll penetrate chainmail. So knights need plate armor. Horses need plate armor. But with a volley like that, Merrick pointed to the whistling rainfall of arrows and shrugged. It's over. Chris looked back at the tournament grounds, and then he said, Well, it's about time. Merrick turned and saw 5 liveried pages walking toward them, along with 2 guards in red and black surcoats. Finally, I'm going to get out of this damn metal. Chris and Merrick stood as the men came up. One of the guards said, You have broken the rules of tourney, disgraced the chivalrous knight Guy Malagant, and the good officers of Lord Oliver. You are made arrest and will come with us. Wait a minute, Chris said. We disgraced him? You will come with us. Wait a minute, Chris said. The soldier cuffed him hard on the side of the head and pushed him forward. Merrick fell into step beside him. Surrounded by guards, they headed toward the castle. Kate was still at the tournament, looking for Chris and Andre. At first she thought to look in the tents range beyond the field, but there were only men, knights, and squires and pages in that area, and she decided against it. It was a different world. Violence was in the air, and she felt a constant sense of risk. Nearly everyone in the world was young. The knights who swaggered around the fields were in their 20s or early 30s, and the squires mere teenagers. She was dressed in ordinary fashion, and clearly not a member of the nobility. She had the feeling that if she were dragged off and raped, no one would take much notice. Even though it was midday, she found herself behaving the way she did in New Haven at night. She tried never to be alone, but to move with a group. She skirted around the clusters of males, giving them wide berth. She made her way behind the bleachers, hearing the cheers of the crowd as the next pair of knights began to fight. She looked into the area of tents to her left. She did not see Merrick or Chris anywhere. Yet they had left the field only minutes before. Were they inside one of the tents? She had heard nothing in her earpiece for the last hour. She assumed it was because Merrick and Chris had worn helmets, which blocked transmission. But surely their helmets were off now. Then she saw them, a short distance down the hill, sitting by a meandering stream. She headed down the hill. Her wig was hot and itchy in the sun. Perhaps she could get rid of the wig and just put her hair up under a cap, Or if she cut her hair a little shorter, she could pass for a young man even without a cap. It might be interesting, she thought, to be a man for a while. She was thinking about where to get scissors when she saw the soldiers approaching Merrick. She slowed her pace. She still heard nothing in her earpiece, but she was close, so she knew she should. Was it turned off? She tapped her ear. Immediately, she heard Chris say, "We disgraced him," and then something garbled. She saw the soldiers push Chris toward the castle. Merrick walked alongside him. Kate waited a moment, then followed. Castle Guard was deserted, shops and storefronts locked, its streets echoing and empty. Everyone had gone to the tournament, which made it more difficult to follow Merrick and Chris to the soldiers. She had to drop farther back, waiting until they had gone out of the street before she could follow them. Hurrying ahead at a near run until she caught sight of them again, then ducked back around a corner. She knew her behavior looked suspicious, but there was no one to see it. High in one window, she saw an old woman sitting in the sun, eyes closed, but she never looked down. Perhaps she was asleep. She came to the open field in front of the castle. It, too, was now deserted. The knights on prancing horses, the mock combats, the flying banners were all gone. The soldiers crossed the drawbridge. As she followed after them, she heard the crowd roar from the field beyond the walls. The guards turned and shouted to soldiers on the ramparts, asking what was happening. The soldiers above could see down to the field. They shouted answers. All this was accompanied by much swearing. Apparently, bets had been made. "Hello there, Elia. Good to see you." Are we winning what exactly, Elia? Good to see you back from Sunless Sea. We're actually planning some tonight, perhaps. Was thinking about it there, Elia.
Welcome back.
We just had the tournament, medieval tournament, as it were. Now we're following them being arrested after Merrick attacked Guy when Chris was Guy's opponent. Well, it's pretty hot here, not too bad, but winning in the general sense. Now that you're here in chat, yeah, we're feeling better already. So nice to see you, Elia. Get some good Diablo 3 tonight. Maybe some Sunless Sea. Maybe some Mordhau. We'll see how we feel.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
Visiting the Dawn Machine. I don't really know what to do much there, but there is, yeah, the one next to the Iron Republic Dawn Machine and the other Geode, you know, the Grand Geode. I don't know how to do that side quest. It's so elaborate, so maybe you could help us with that if we do decide to get back to the Sunless Sea tonight. Still don't have Submariner yet, so I know that'll open a lot of stuff when we get that eventually. Would like to play it a good bit. I've enjoyed Sunless Sea, one of my very first games ever streamed before we had the 2,000 hours streamed already. Alright, I'm going to open those windows pretty soon here. Let's do one more hour of fan action. Fallen London, the Dawn Machine literally lets you make wishes. It's a tad nerfed in Sunless Sea. Oh, you mean the actual Fallen London game? Gotcha. Yeah, they're releasing that new one, the Rose, right? The something with the Rose. Aren't they coming out with that soon? The other story one. Interesting. Yeah, I thought there was like the other store in the Fallen London actual Sunless Sea. Like there was the bazaar with the bats and stuff. Oh, really? It's pretty elaborate, huh? I've only heard like some people think it's too repetitive or something. I don't know. Teensy tad. Mask. Oh yeah, Mask of the Rose. That's upcoming visual novel dating sim set in Fallen London. Okay, well I'm sure some people will enjoy that. I don't know if we'll try that. We'll see. Someone actually gifted us that Super Seducer game. I don't know if we'll play that on chat sometime, but yep, fun stuff here, Lee. Enjoying some good timeline. Glad you could join us here for a good time. The Dragons Roost this fine Sunday, June 26th. Join us for a good spell, lots of fun adventures, and lovely times. We'll be showing some good stuff here and there throughout the evening, finishing up a bit of this chapter 8 of Timeline, if you are familiar at all. And yeah, love to discuss that Sunless Sea and fun bats and the bazaar, like I said. And actually what I did this playthrough, Elia, was to dissolve the Admiralty with the Anarchists from the surface, so I'm not able to turn any more port reports, so that's definitely make that that character pretty hard. No port report rewards for the most part. Just a few here and there for the odd ones, but not in London itself. So that's not really worth it for the unclear device, you know, the thing that hides you for 5 seconds. Yeah, I don't think I'll do the anarchy all the way to 7 again. But usually you would do merciless mode, you would die shortly after or find a way to retire soonly after anyway. I did talk to one person, they had thousands of hours, and they had made 1 million echoes before. Mildly troublesome, yeah, yes. Okay. But there were no soldiers in the Bailey. Everyone was up in the ramparts watching the tournament. We'll pick it up from there. So long as the Admiralty is being overthrown, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, it's just gone, basically. They take them out. And then you have the Mount Palmerston, too. You have, like, that delegates from Hell there in Fallen London, too. I'm trying to find more side quests for that, and also the mechanic with his dream snakes. Nightmares of that is such elaborate side quests. I did like the one with the gunnery officer when she fought the big beast, like the shadowy beasts at the Wolf Island, the Wolf's Head Island, the one of those. That was a pretty cool one. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. We were in Varchase a bit, trying to do the Varchase stuff. I got pretty close to it, I think. And then Visage, can you really get very far in Visage? It seems like I do a lot of the like same general medium stuff and then get thrown out all the time. I guess I need to be a little more careful how I do that, but it's pretty interesting. And having all the shrines for stat boost is nice, and playing on merciful mode, the one where you can reload anytime, does make it easier to, you know, see the results of things. But what would you say the best way to keep track of all that, Aaliyah, for all the different commodities, all the objects in game, all the side quests? Should you just have like the wiki, or should you write down like your own guide for every single object and interaction in the game? Because there's just so much to keep track of for that, like where you sell stuff, where you buy stuff, what you need there, what you interact with that, what kind of resources you can use, like candles for, all sorts of stuff like that. You know, there's so many different places to use things, so if you want to keep track and be most efficient, it seems like you need a really good comprehensive guide for every single object in the game. So that's an interesting thing to think about. Discuss the perspective. She looked around for Merrick and Chris, but did not see them. Not knowing what else to do, she went through the door to the great hall. She heard footsteps echoing in the spiral staircase to her left. She started up the stairs, going round and round, but the footsteps diminished. They must have gone down, not up. Quickly, she retraced her steps. The stairs spiraled downward, ending in a low-ceilinged stone passage, damp and moldy, with cells along one side. The cell doors were open, no one inside. Somewhere ahead, beyond a bend in the corridor, she heard echoing voices and the clang of metal. She moved cautiously forward. She must be beneath the great hall, she thought. In her mind, she tried to reconstruct the area, from her memory of the ruined castle she had explored so carefully a few weeks earlier. But she did not remember ever seeing this passageway. Perhaps it had collapsed centuries before. Another metal clang and echoing laughter, then footsteps. It took her a moment to realize they were coming toward her. Merrick fell back into soggy, rotting straw, slippery and stinking. Chris tumbled down alongside him, sliding on the mush. The cell door clanged shut. They were at the end of a corridor, with cells on all 3 sides. Through the bars, Merrick saw the guards leaving, laughing, as they went. One said, "Hey, Paolo, where do you think you're going? You stay here and guard them." "Why? They're not going anywhere. I want to see the tourney." "It's your watch. Oliver wants them guarded." There was some protesting and swearing, more laughing, and footsteps going away. Then one heavy-set guard came back, peered in through the bars at them, and swore. He wasn't happy. They were the reason he was missing the show. He spat on the floor of their cell, then walked a short distance away to a wooden stool. Merrick could not see him anymore, but he saw his shadow on the opposite wall. It looked as though he was picking his teeth. Merrick walked up to the bars, trying to see into the other cells. He could not really see into the cell to the right, but directly across from them, he saw a figure back against the wall, seated in the darkness. As his eyes adjusted, he saw it was the professor. Alright, we are back to Stern there at ITC. We'll pick it up here, Chapter 8 of Sechev's Timeline. Very exciting, guys. I'm going to be back in just a quick moment. We'll pick it up with some Diablo 3 right away. Gonna be great. See you in just a moment.